What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. Let's talk a little about Starstock. Oh, what could have been, what could have been. So, there's been some smoke flying around the old Starstock rumor mill. Cardporn had a post about this. This is not the first I've heard this information, and Dakota from Sports Cards Anonymous has talked about this as well, and I've heard some rumbles of it from some other third parties. Things don't seem to be going too great over there. As of right now, rumor, speculation, has it that they have one person actively working in the vault, sending back your cards. Sounds like things are a stressful mess over there. I pulled, and I did a video about it last fall. I pretty much removed anything of real significant value off the platform. I think right before the National, actually. So I guess late last summer. And at that time, it was kind of things weren't moving as great over there. So I just made the decision to pull all my slabs. I left a bunch of junk raw cards on there. Then when the initial news came out a couple months ago about them shifting focus or whatever, I was like, once again, I made a video on this. The writing to me was on the wall. I immediately requested the last couple Baker Mayfield slabs I had on there and withdrew the rest of my money and just left. To be quite honest, the cards that are left in my Starstock account, they can keep. I only need so much Goga Batance Mosaic rookies in my life. They are more than happy to store those for me until the bitter end. But some people wrote it out, and people are still getting deals and stuff on there because people were dumping inventory. But it sounds like right now it may take a year to get your cards back. I assume everyone will get their cards back at some point in time, but boy, who knows when things seem extremely messy over there. So, what went wrong? Where did this go sideways? Was it the market went and flipped on them, in a bad way, and then they weren't making enough revenue anymore to support the overhead that they had acquired? Was it the lack of focus or the mixed messaging of what we want to be when they started doing breaking and things like that? Where did this all go sideways? And I think there's a couple different things, because I believe in Jeff Wilson and Darren Ravel and Mike Geo and a couple others on a panel at Mint that I saw streamed talked about this. Starstock itself as a concept is a fantastic idea. We have ComC, which is like Starstock. Starstock was essentially a more modern version of ComC and catered more towards the quick flip, ultra modern side, rookies only initially, that sort of stuff. And I think obviously the market going south did not help them at all, because a lot of their business was built on the fact of low dollar quick flips. And people quickly figured out that I probably shouldn't be paying $70 for a base Prism DeAndre Hunter Starstock A like people were back in January and February of 2021. I made a lot of money on Starstock in the early days when you could quick flip that stuff. It was a very fun platform. Once again, I think the concept was great. So I think the market downturn is part of the thing that hurt them. I think another thing that really kind of swept their legs out from underneath them was when the grading companies shut down. They had rolled out, they did it once, a very quick turnaround service with PSA grading. And that first sub went out the door, and it came back, and they got a decent percentage of PSA 10s, but it came back in like a month and a half. It was lightning fast. And I remember thinking like, holy smokes, if they're going to turn cards around this quick, people were thinking maybe they were getting preferential treatment or getting bumped to the front of the line. And then that second PSA sub went out the door, and it just disappeared into the PSA ether, because that was right around the same time PSA got decimated with orders. And then there was a February sub after that, which I could be wrong. I think those cards are still gone. I think those cards are still MIA. The December sub turned super fast. I sent in the January sub. I got those cards back last summer. I am pretty sure the February sub is still missing in action. Anyone in the comments below, if you have cards out with PSA through Starstock, Let me know in the comments down below what your timeline was on that stuff. I'm curious to see what's out there, but I know that there are people still waiting on cards at Starstock or that are out via PSA. I think that hurt them because I think the concept of getting deals on A cards on that platform and then sending them off to get PSA graded and then having them come back graded and then flipping them that way was very appealing if they could have kept that quick turnaround time. I think that really hurt them. And that was completely out of their control. They had nothing to do with that. That was something they had zero control over, but I do believe that sucked some momentum out of the platform. And that happened the same time the market kind of on base cards started turning south. And a big part of the Starstock market was base cards. That was a big reason, or a lot of the stuff that was transacted on there was base cards. In fact, you would often see base Prism. One of my big plays was always base Prism would fly up high first, and people would forget about like the greens, the red, white, and blues, and they would all of a sudden be super cheap. So you would buy them, and a couple hours later, people would catch on, and then you could sell them. You know, if you missed the wave on the base Prism. So I think that definitely cut a leg out from them. Then, you know, as their business started to slow, they also did not innovate the product at all. Back-end inventory management. At first, if you just had a couple cards on there, it was fine. But as your inventory grew, it became god-awful and unwieldy to manage your inventory on the back end, managing offers that you had out on cards, offers coming in on cards. That whole process was a hot mess. And once again, when the site was small and you didn't have a ton of stuff in your inventory, you were quick churning it, it wasn't the end of the world. When I sent in that whole box of like multiple, probably a couple thousand junk cards, when those got loaded into the system, I was overwhelmed. It was a mess trying to price all that stuff, adjust prices, look at offers, accept offers, send offers out. If you were buying, all that stuff was a mess. And I think that hurt the platform as well because people became frustrated with it and said, you know, whatever, I'll just go do something else. At the same time, people were voicing frustrations about non-improvements on the back-end platform stuff. They then got into breaking. And I think they were looking at as a way to juice the inventory and potentially as a way to make money. You know, maybe profit off the breaking. We'll become a breaking company to supplement the vaulting services. On paper, it seemed okay. I'm not a big breaking guy, so I never cared about that. But they didn't have allocation, so then you're at the whims of trying to find, you know, retail product or buying off the secondary market, marking it up, and then trying to run a break on it. And that just never really seemed to work for them all that well. You knew things were going sideways when they rolled out mystery packs. At one point in time, they had mystery packs rolled out. I was pretty vocal against that when they rolled that out. I know a lot of people were. And then they had the auction services that came out as well, where they would sell cards. And it was cards. The weird part about that was the auction services. You know, at this point in time, the platform was pretty deep into the weeds. You know, the ship was sinking. It was taking on water. And their people, you know, when you were at the National or some of these bigger shows, I remember being at the National and then walking around trade nights trying to buy cards off people to then turn around and sell on the site. Well, part of the problem was there really wasn't a big user base on the site at that point in time, and stuff would sell for pretty cheap or less than what they paid for it. So now, you know, you're paying employees to go out there and try to find cards to buy. Then you're sending them back home to the Starstock corporate HQ to auction them off, and they're selling for less than what you bought them for. That's not an efficient way to run a business. At the same time, I feel like they were trying to go the whatnot route where they would bring on known people in the hobby to sell cards on their platform to try to drive traffic. I know, and this was shortly before the shutdown, that they had reached out to me about wanting to come on the platform to sell stuff. And I was a little confused on what they wanted actually. Like, did they want me to just come hang out while they were auctioning off their cards? Or did they want me to come and sell my own cards? And they wanted me to come on and sell my own cards and link in my audience and whatever. And My general thought process was, one, I don't like selling to my audience my own cards. If someone wants something cool, but I'm not going to get on there and run an auction for them. And then if I really wanted to do that, I could just do that myself. Why do I need to do it on your platform? So I politely declined that. But that was right before they closed, like right before that statement come out. Actually, if I would have accepted that offer to do that, I'm curious if it actually would have happened, because about a week or two later is when everything went sideways. So they just got lost somewhere along the lines in the market downturn. I think another big thing, they became like the flea market of cards once everything went sideways. I almost wonder, and this kind of would have undercut a lot of what they were doing with the Starstock A and B and C thing, if they would have just started right from the get-go and had just done graded cards only, how that would have worked out for them, or if that would have worked out for them. I feel like if they would have went graded cards only, I think it would have been a slower growing user base off the get, because you wouldn't have had all these microtransactions going on. But I think for the health of the company long term, it may have potentially been better, because the site would have grown a little bit slower. Slabs are much more easier to intake. You don't need a team of people soft grading them, A, B, or C, so you save a ton of overhead there. That allows cards to be ingested faster, and then it also allows cards to be sent home faster, so you have a better customer service experience on both ends. I feel like if they would have went slabs only, it may have benefited them. Maybe we end up here at the same point and we're still having the same conversation today. But I feel like part of the mistake was allowing a lot of that junk to flood the website. From our perspective as buyers and sellers, it was cool. I think from a running the business perspective, it was a terrible decision, because now you need all these man hours, all this overhead to manage all this inventory of cards that are 10 cents a piece. You could do that with a lot smaller team if you're just doing graded cards, because you don't have to look anything over. Much more easier to keep track of that stuff. So I think that was one of their initial mistakes, is maybe right from the get was taking on all those raw base cards. I'd be curious to see what, pull a Marvel what if here, what would have happened if they would have just done slabs only and just left it at that. Because once again, the concept of Starstock is really good. We've seen it on a more old school sale on the ComC side. It works very successfully. On a modern streamlined side, I think you do it with slabs only. And you're seeing it now. I mean, vaulting services are nothing new. They're freaking everywhere now. But to have almost like a low-end vaulting service, I think is what appealed to a lot of people. So it may have hurt their initial growth, but I really do think taking raw cards and doing the ABC thing was a mistake. Now, maybe that's hindsight's 2020, because we all know what happened to the low-end base card market. Back then, that stuff was hot. Then quickly, that slipped out from beneath everybody, and that stuff was not hot anymore, and the values crashed on it. The other thing you saw that happen is people got upside down on stuff very quickly, and then they were very firm on their prices, and just things weren't priced to move very often on that platform. A lot of people were very overpriced on it, and they really shouldn't have been. You should have been pricing competitively to move a card over there, because the fees were a lot less, and you did not need to pay for shipping and all that stuff. So, a very interesting tale. A product that I believe on a whiteboard is still a very good product. Execution was poor. But here we sit now. The platform seems to be listless at this point. They're talking about NFT projects. Who knows what this website looks like in a year? Very, very interested to see. And once again, I really liked the platform at one point in time. Was a big, big supporter of them in the early days. And then it just kind of went off the rails somewhere along the lines for a lot of different reasons. Curious for your thoughts down below. Where did Starstock go sideways? Was this inevitable? What, the market downturn happening, was that going to doom Starstock no matter what? Or is there something along the lines they either did or did not do that kind of sent them down this path? And let me know what you think. What wrong turn did they make or not make that caused us to be here today, where they're just kind of sailing along with no one at the helm. And you don't really hear, I mean, they sent an email out last week, and once again, this card porn post was in response to that, about the email says one thing, but in reality, it's a lot different. So that's all I got for you guys and girls today. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff down below. We will catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.